All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. I am so exhausted this morning. I woke up at like 4:45 and couldn't go back to bed. And I'm no Kyle Van Dusen, so 4:45 for me is not a friendly time to be waking up. Normally, most days, if my son doesn't have school and we don't have to take him to the bus stop, I'm up by 8:30-ish. So you can imagine a 4:45 wake up call was not ideal. Did manage to go back to sleep a little bit, but I am dragging a little bit. So hopefully this stream is going to wake me up. I think it will. I hope you all are doing well. Whoever is watching as you join, and if you're here already, please do let me know where you are. I love to know who's watching and where you're from. I always say good morning because it's morning time for me, but I know lots of you guys and gals are overseas in different parts of the world. So in terms of everything that's been going on here, there's a ton of stuff. Elijah and I just released PyCalendar Pro. The reception's been really great on that, and we have a long way yet to go. But that's been really exciting to get that shipped and live. Having a plugin in the repo is really cool, and having the paid version available now is great too. And then there's a lot more. We're already discussing just other ideas. So, good morning, John from Kentucky. I actually didn't know you're from Kentucky, John. I don't know. I guess I never really realized that. You're not terribly far from me, but watching from China, awesome. Glad to have you, Akram. Tolga and Sandra, welcome. Glad to see you again. Hello from Italy, awesome. Where in Italy? I'm about to pop the chat into the little thingy so I can see. Corvette City, yeah, of course. Okay, cool. Awesome. I don't know much about Kentucky. I've only passed through a little bit. From Malaysia. Awesome. That's so cool. It's really incredible how the internet connects us all. We can just be watching a video stream of some random dude for website stuff on YouTube. Katie, Texas. Josh, I'm sure you probably told me that, but I actually didn't realize that. Maybe you did before. I'm going to remember now. The only thing I know about Katie is that it's indistinguishable for me as I'm driving from Houston through Katy to get to my brother's houses in Austin. It's just seems like you're going 80 miles an hour for like 30 miles. And then it's just like, yeah, I-10, of course. And then, then you're just like still getting passed by people in the outside lane going like, it must be 95 as you're going 80. It's just like, it's not fast enough. But I guess I'd feel that way too if I had 30 miles of straight flat interstate to go through every single day. 8 lanes on either side, just absolute lunacy. Oh boy. Exactly. People go 80 and it's still not fast enough for whatever reason. It's wild. Yeah. But so in terms of this episode of Inside Link, really what I wanted to do is just jump into Josh, exactly. It's always blown my mind when you cross into Beaumont on the east side, and it's just like El Paso, 900 miles. It's just absolutely wild. I mean, Florida is similar in that way too, where like I live way up in the Panhandle, so if you drive from where I am all the way down to Miami, that takes at least 12 hours. So it's a long way if you go the whole length of the state, but not Texas size. It really is wild. Really is wild how big Texas is. Yeah, I mean, like last year I drove out to Colorado with some friends, and we drove from here in Florida to Dallas. Technically we drove to Fort Worth and for the first, kind of haul. And it was like 13 or 14 hours with traffic and delays and stuff. And then the next day we still had like 5 hours until we got out of Texas. Maybe 5's an exaggeration, but it was crazy. Really is wild. Trying to plan to go to HangCon? What's that? I'm going to quickly Google that. HangCon, hammock. Oh, interesting. Hammock stuff. Cool. Where is it? Let's see. I don't see where it's supposed to be. Yeah, I'm not sure. FAQ. You could trade them a new website for cost of admission. I can imagine. Seems pretty cool. Oh, get directions. There's a giant button. I'm an idiot. Brooksville. Where is that? Okay, yes, outside of Tampa. That's like probably 6.5 hours for me, roughly. But that's cool. Central Florida and South Florida are like two totally different states. People joke that like they're technically two different states. There should be like a North Florida and a South Florida, and it's kind of true. Like the people are different, the vibes are different. It's just like a totally different, you know, feel for as you go north and south across the state. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, Texas, West Texas is going to be different than Hill Country and that sort of thing. Yeah, Florida is very tall. What I was going to say, though, is the point of today's stream is just an FAQ. So if you have any questions about WordPress plugins, GenerateBlocks, anything like that, you're more than welcome to ask. In the meantime, I'm going to be working on some like a client site that will end up inside the Generate Made Easy course as a full site build. What I like to do, and typically with most of my tutorials, I've already done the thing that I'm showing at least once. Especially in the case of site builds, I like to go through the details and figure out, you know, how this is going to work so that when I am presenting it, it's obviously much more clean and cohesive. And then, you know, in the edit, it makes the editing so much easier too. So we're just going to kind of casually build that. We can chit chat about different things. If you have questions, like I said, just drop them in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that. And then, you know, in the meantime, we're going to be building this site. I'm also going to be trying out GenerateBlocks 1.8 alpha that Kyle so diligently, or vigilantly, I might say, discovered is available on Tom's GitHub page. So we're going to be trying that out. I do have the GenerateBlocks Pro 152 installed, which could cause problems maybe if the core of 1.8 alpha has got any weird, like, you know, bugs or anything like that. It's unlikely. So as Kyle, it's funny enough, I told Kyle just yesterday when he shared that video with me, I was like, that's so funny. I literally looked at his GitHub like, it must have been Friday of last week or like maybe mid last week, just curious about what's coming. And naturally there was nothing there. So we were both kind of checking actively. Let's go ahead and switch over here. So real quick, with the GenerateBlocks 1.8, we have different tabs here. So this is actually really good because there's two different things that I wanted to start filming for Generate Made Easy. There's quite a few things I want to fix, and I'm really, really glad I didn't start yet. So here we go. Also, I want to make sure that I have more of my content for CSS Made Easy all situated. So in terms of that for the CSS course, that's all going to be, there's going to be 3 new modules coming here in the very near future, hopefully early next week, like Tuesday, maybe. I hope so. We'll see. So we got some other buttons here too. What is this? Inner container and add to container. Oh, is that what I think it is? Is there a container wrap button? Please, on a heading or a headline, please give me, yes, let's go. I didn't know that. Kyle, I watched your video. You didn't point that out, dude. That's sick. So like if you have a group of content, let's just say some text, does everything have that? That's gotta be a GenerateBlocks thing, right? Yeah, it has to be because it puts it in a GenerateBlocks container. That's awesome. I'm really stoked about that because it's happened so often that I need to wrap stuff with containers. So I wonder if it works if you have like multiple lines. Can you take these 4? No? Okay. Maybe because it's the alpha. Add to row, add to stack. Oh, cool. Is that setting a flex direction? Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. I was hoping that it might add additional containers, but I guess if you could quickly create a really simple group like that if you just were like, oh, okay, that doesn't work. It doesn't give you those buttons. Maybe this is something that Kyle didn't have. Maybe Tom just pushed this because I don't recall seeing these little dialogues. So let's go with, oh wait, so you can keep spamming that add container button. That's kind of funny and also a little bit useless. What I wanted to do real quick was change these content. Oh, that's awesome. This is like Figma. That's so cool. So you have the content kind of alignment buttons here that correspond to the buttons in GenerateBlocks in real time. That is so dope because like I actually have this pulled up in Figma. It's just like the layout controls over here. If you set an auto layout, you can configure where the items end up, and those correspond directly to the flex layout in CSS through Figma. Oh, I need to undo that change. There we go. That's really cool. I'm happy about that because it's not like it's terribly difficult to figure this out when you're familiar with Flex. But if you're someone that's new to it, you're like, align items, justify, I guess. The lines are obviously like relatively self-explanatory, but in terms of making this far more user-friendly, oh, and you can change the positioning, the stack. That's awesome. Really welcome change. I didn't even know they were working on this. Not that they're particularly forward in what they're working on, but nonetheless. Yeah, okay, that's really cool. So really all I wanted to do was just take a look at this because before I got sidetracked with the layout options that exist in 1.8, the other thing is the sidebar here is a bit different. So this looks more like the Chrome Inspect box model layers like this. So this is pretty cool. You can obviously just type in to rim. Is there a link? Oh yeah, there's a link button. I see it. This tiny little link icon right there. Excuse me. So this is more like Oxygen. And does Bricks lay out their padding controls like this? I can't recall. I have used Bricks a couple of times, of course, but not enough to really remember the interface off the top of my head. I can't remember if it's laid out like the, top right, bottom left, or if it's all in one line. I feel like it's one line if I'm not mistaken. But I like this model a little bit more. It reminds me of Visual Composer. Like when I was working in Visual Composer, when I first started with WordPress, it's funny how like those controls were so troublesome for me. I'd have to like put something in padding, publish it, see if it worked. Then it's like, oh man, I meant margin. Then you got to go delete the padding and then put it back in margin and then go back. But it's still the way that they represented their controls in the actual builder was good. So this is kind of reminiscent of that and kind of a more modern take on it. Topper says, how was the experience with grid pane so far? Do you have anything that you wish they have coming from Cloudways? So far, everything's good. I haven't moved over all of my care plan client sites yet. That's been something that has taken me a little bit longer than I thought. All of my personal sites are moved over. So my website, jonathanjernigan.com, Pi Calendar's over there. And yeah, so in terms of how it's working, everything's completely stable, rock solid, really fast. No problems at all from that front. I think one thing that's a little bit different is in Cloudways, if I had varnish off, I didn't really have to worry about when I published something like a content change, I didn't have to go like manually clear cache to make it go, which is slightly annoying, but I think that's just kind of how this works. So like, I need to go into grid pane and clear the cache because the little plugin, the Nginx helper plugin that's on the site, if you clear the object cache, it doesn't seem like that does anything because it's actually page cache. And I did turn on the settings that are like, when you publish a post, you can have it to where it like, clears those caches for you, but it doesn't seem like it works. So it totally could be user error, but I think that's the only thing is just that I had to be more cognizant of, having grid pane and Cloudflare open. So the, the ability to clear those out quickly would be nice, but as of right now, I guess not. Can you enter variables into the padding and margin? I don't think so. Because there's not a custom unit option. Well, we do have rim. I don't know if I said this. I meant to. Finally, GenerateBlocks has rim. So this is here, which is great. This was here in GeneratePress, of course. But if you needed to make changes or you're setting up custom headings and fonts for global styles with GenerateBlocks, not having rim was a bummer. And there was EM, of course, but that wasn't preferential by any stretch. So now we have rim pretty much everywhere with their widths and spacing and Typography controls, very, very welcome. Line height and letter spacing are separated out into individual lines. I think it was 2 before. I think they were side by side. So that's really nice. Just, continuous improvement, continuous quality of life changes here in GenerateBlocks. So that's awesome. Topper says that sounds crazy if you have many team members working on the site. Yeah, I mean, you see the changes as an admin logged in. That's something I should have clarified. You see the changes when you're logged in as an admin when you publish on the front end, like pretty much right away. But if you go, check on like a mobile phone or something where you're not logged in, then you're not going to see it until you go clear the cache. I'm sure it's going to refresh in the cache after a few hours or whatever the timeout is. But for me, it was like, I'm making changes on like a site like PyCalendar with like a paid tool that I need to make sure is published and live immediately. So I don't think that's necessarily a deal breaker. And like I said, it also very well could be user error. It could be operator error for sure. I don't really know. But overall, GridPane's good. I got my little like vulture email that was like, you have a bill. I was like, but you have enough credit to cover it. Yes. So like I said, if you're going to try that out, just go Google vulture new customer coupon. And I found one for $250. I think it's only good for the first month though. So that's kind of a disappointment, but I guess then you can't just ride on their system for free forever. Yeah, Josh, I'm assuming I don't have the cache set up right. It works, but obviously, like I said, I got to go clear it. Yeah. Like the post changes seem like they should be, and I have set it up in, I think the plugin's called Nginx Helper, where there's a setting in there to publish it. When you publish that it clears the cache, but it doesn't seem like in my particular setup that it's actually working that way. So I don't know. IDK. It's all good though. There's not that many sites where I'm making changes frequently enough for it to be an issue. If I was working on a site where I was having to make changes like, every couple hours or every day, it might be a little bit more annoying and worth investigating, but at the moment it's not been that big of a bother. Okay, so yeah, that's the first thing that I wanted to do was just take a look at the GenerateBlock stuff. So we have some cool alignment options. What is this block alignment thing? This must be a core element. Maybe that's a new WordPress update thing. I don't actually know what that is right there. So yeah, we have the better container controls. We can do a wrapper, which is great, and configure our Flex layouts with the little visual option, which is pretty cool. So yeah, and then rim, of course. Having rim everywhere we need it is really great and very welcome. So I'm happy about that. Alrighty, so I'm gonna keep rolling over here with just creating some of this content. This is a care plan client of mine who's been with me for many, many, many years. In fact, one of my first ever clients, I think. Trying to remember. Let's see, I'm trying to remember if they would have come on in like 2015 possibly, because I started websites at the end of 2014, almost 10 years, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, they probably joined in 2015, and they basically have a site from then. It's on Visual Composer, and it pretty much never gets updates. They're one of those businesses, of course, being a veterinary clinic, where they have absolutely no shortage of business. In fact, they told me recently they're not even taking new clients right now. So the only reason for the site to exist is really for current clients and for people to, kind of sign up for their waiting list. And then they have a lot of people that come to their site with like emergency vet needs. So there's like the emergency tab, but that just links out to another, local company that does the emergency vet stuff. So really what was interesting about this, and it's just a fun way to go about this, is being able to share with my client so many years of data that I was able to look at and decide, what does the menu structure need to look like, and what do the buttons need to be based on the fact that they're not even taking new clients. In our original mock-up before we had that info, it was like request an appointment, and it was like, well, they were like, nope, we don't want that. But what we do want is our clients to be able to fill out a form and request a refill of their prescription, for their pet. So that's cool. Using these like data-driven things, I really love that kind of thing. Being able to go to our client and say, you know, this is the reason why we want to lay out the menu this way, and these are the buttons, and they were super stoked. So that was great. You can see that this is, you know, just kind of a standard small business site. Nothing super crazy. Got a little like, you know, beach effect because of where we are. Give kind of the beach vibe. And then little, what do you call these things? I don't know, some sort of cool transition, some sort of wavy transition. And then this is a review feed, obviously. Probably will end up using WP Social Ninja. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. The one that has the Google Feed integration built in, so we can pull in their Google reviews, because they pretty much always consistently get strong reviews. So we'll go ahead and pop that in there, keep that updated and fresh, pull in the latest couple of reviews. Not that it really matters, because I think by the time people have come to this site, they're pretty much set. They either already are a client or they're ready to become one. So it's not much convincing, but it's still nice. Social proof is always good. Then we have just a really basic footer. They have kind of weird hours, so it makes a business hours section a little bit more complicated. Closed every third Thursday of the month between 1:30 and 2:30. So I thought about some kind of calculation, creating some kind of like calculation that would work for that. But then I thought that's pointless. That's too much work and doesn't actually, you know, move the needle in any meaningful way. So this is all going to be pretty straightforward. Gonna just go ahead and build this while everybody hangs out, chit chats, and if you have any questions, like I said, drop them in the chat. Can be pretty much anything. Diviatus, hey, good to see you, man. Welcome in. Glad to have you. And you know I gotta do it. If you're watching, please drop a like on the stream. If you're not subscribed, please also subscribe. I really appreciate it. I also need to get some other guests scheduled. That's another thing. I know Paul C., when he was on, nominated Imran. Then actually Elijah didn't nominate anybody, which is my own fault because I didn't remind him. Let's see. Kevin nominated Tom from GenerateBlocks and somebody else too, I think. I can't remember. Can't actually remember who he said. You can go back and look, obviously. Max, hello. Good to see you. Today's just a hangout Q&A live build stream. So that's what we're going to do. Only about 25 minutes in. So we're going to just keep rolling. Alrighty. So let's see. The first thing we're going to do is, I actually don't know how many pages right now I'm going to end up with. I don't think the services page is going to end up being an actual page about us for sure. The more tab, let me pull it up. I have my notes over here. Let's see. Where did my note go? Oh, I have my notes, but it just it doesn't say exactly what I meant for it to. That's fine. We'll just rock this for now. Gosh, the allergy stuff is hitting me hard today too. I'm just going to add some custom links so we actually have a menu. So we're going to go with our services. Did I do that right? I always do this wrong. And when I'm creating a little custom link, I always start typing and I'm like, our services in the URL, and then the link text is just a little pound sign. I always end up messing that up and have to fix it. Where did it go? Let's see. So about us. And then there was a gallery one. I don't think we're going to do that in the main menu anymore. I think that's going to go under the more tab and end up being like an ID link to somewhere else on the page. See, I just did it. URL. I just typed in emergency. Okay. And then we're going to have a URL of contact eventually. And this contact is going to have a class so that we can style it to be a little bit separate from the rest of the menu. So it can be that CTA. So we'll call this nav, CTA will be our class name. So create menu and then primary. Okay, so that is fine for now. So let's go ahead and first of all, we're gonna go into GeneratePress and activate our elements. Let's see, what else do we want? I'm not going to need a blog. I'm not going to need a menu plus really. Spacing, we'll turn that on. Disable elements. And then that should be it for now. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an element of a layout. Full width layout. Content, no sidebar. Disable elements. We're going to go content title and where's my featured image? There it is. Featured image. Content will be full width and display rules are going to be entire site. Perfect. Alrighty. And then let's go ahead and do some customization. Yeah, Topper, you're right. The global controls that you have in the GeneratePress elements is pretty wild. So for those of you that may not be actively using GeneratePress, I think it's easy to discount what this theme is actually capable of, specifically the pro version of it with the elements function. Like the way that you have display rules and hooks combined is really immense. So I'll just quickly show you. I think it's worth pointing this out. And with the element type, you can create a block, which is essentially just any kind of custom element. So this could be, a CTA section or anything you want. And then go with container. Then there's this new option. What is this? Add inner container. Okay, I'm gonna have to get used to the difference in the button naming. But let's just say, you have a headline and example. Let's add some text. And then you not only have the location kind of display rule of where this should appear on the site, but then you also have the ability to hook this in to pretty much any component of your site. So you've probably seen me do this in other videos, but you have all of these pre-built hooks. So you can see you can go before or after the header, before or after the content, in the logo, outside of the logo, after your navigation, in the sidebar, all these different things, before and after the content. There's before and after footer and content, sidebars, all those sorts of things. So you combine the hook of where you want the element to go on the page, and then this display rule of which pages it should apply to. It's incredibly powerful. There's so much you can do with it. And then the other thing is, if you're adept at any kind of custom code, you can of course register your own hooks, and then you can, excuse me, then at the bottom, you have your own custom hook. Gosh, I am barely able to hang on here with this allergy disgusting nonsense. Somebody who does this custom hook stuff really well and really often is Taylor Drayson, of course, which, I'm going to have to message that boy. He ain't been in one of these streams in a while. That's a load of bull malarkey. Let's see. Where you at, dude? Missing you in the stream. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, long story short, GeneratePress elements are extremely powerful, and there's so many use cases for them. Like I said, this CTA section is one. You can add, different components to your site that will appear in certain places. You can create blog layouts with them. This is how you would create your templates for any kind of archive or singular post type. The control and power you have with elements is really, really immense. It's really awesome. Let's see if maybe there would be a use case for one that I could build real quick in this template. So we have this, we love our clients and patients. Not yet. I mean, we're not done with this mockup, so there might be other CTAs eventually that we come up with that would be a good fit. I mean, reusable blocks kind of blurs the lines. You could put a reusable block inside of an element too, which is pretty cool. That gives you a lot of power there. Technically, your footer is going to be an element. And then, of course, if you had like marketing, sales, landing pages, you could exclude them. That's the other thing I didn't point out, is that not only do you have the location display, but also the exclude function as well. So, if you have unique call to actions on certain places, you can do that. And it's kind of like an iteration of conditions in some way, but like I showed last week in the last half of the stream, having block visibility too, that plugin gives you a whole heck of a lot of power. So we'll leave that CTA section alone for now. So we have our full width layout, which should mean that this all is exactly like that, which is what we want. So now I'm going to enter the customizer. For our layout and container, 1200 pixels is fine. Well, let's see, I actually want to swap out the logo real quick. So we're going to grab this, skip cropping. Oh my gosh, got to make that smaller. Didn't realize this was as ginormous as it is. I think it's roughly 200 pixels wide will be fine. And then Destin Vet Clinic, we'll just do that for now. And then our site icon, I do have that uploaded, so we'll go ahead and do that, which always makes the site look a little nicer. Don't forget, if you're watching and you have a specific question, anything to do with WordPress, or any question you want to ask me, feel free. So for our typography, what are our fonts for this site? Let's go take a look. Montserrat, okay. Probably should have known just by looking. Is this Montserrat everywhere? To be honest, I'm not 100% sure that I like Montserrat as a body font. Montserrat font pairings. I want something that looks like really legible and readable, because we're going to have a huge variety of people visiting this site. One of those is going to be fine, I think. Maybe cabin, possibly. Let's see. Not Esteban. I mean, Open Sans, I've always liked that one. Then again, I'm a basic biatch, so that makes sense. I think I'm going Montserrat and Open Sans, because really, oh, this is not what I meant to do. In the typography, I wanted to go to Montserrat, and then Open Sans. There we go. Okay, and I'm pretty much never going to use 300, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of 300. Try Atkinson. Is that in Google Font? Atkinson font. Oh, the name is Atkinson Hyperlegible. Interesting. Cool. That's a good one. I'll give that a shot instead of Open Sans. Man, I got to move this tab over here because I keep going back to this one tab, thinking that's what it is. I'll give this one a shot. I may end up changing it, but this should be good enough for now. So then for our body element, we're going to go with our font family of Atkinson. Font size is going to be 1 rem. This all should be fine for now, I think. It's interesting because to me, this font almost feels like a little bit crammed. It feels a little bit like just letter spacing is a little bit low. I mean, I'm no font expert, that's for sure. I mean, you could just do 1 pixel, right? Does that even really make that big of a difference? It kind of does, but I mean, I don't want to mess with people who have given this a huge degree of thought. What does it look like if I'm down at 16 pixels? I don't feel like that is as crammed as this looks. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just something to do with font weight. Here I am, not even close to a designer, talking about letter spacings. That's actually something that I just wish I was better at. I just wish I was better at off-the-cuff design. That's like, I think for me, it's all like nuts and bolts, you know, like behind the scenes, all the, I don't know, pretty much anything in terms of like technical details and code and stuff like that, I can figure it out. design and I'm pretty much hamstrung. Okay, so the other thing we need to do is slightly change our header layout. I think we might end up relying on CSS for this because what I'm going to want to do, I think, is center the heading or push the heading, or excuse me, the navigation all the way to the left of the menu. And then we're going to end up taking the contact and spacing that out a bit. That will be, I think, what we'll do now. Except maybe let's go ahead and define our global colors. So these are the defaults. I'm just going to wipe these out. Delete, yes, that's what I said. So we only have a couple. Let's see here. I changed these colors ever so slightly because they weren't passing accessibility contrast ratios. So that's where this deeper green comes from, as opposed to this more like lighter, I don't even know what you call this. I'm gonna call it puke green. I don't think that's a good way to put it. So this one will pop in as our primary global color 1. Is that what I want to call it? I think I'll just call it primary 1. Make it nice and simple so we can reference that in CSS. Easy peasy. Primary 2. Or actually, I guess it would be secondary. That's fine. We'll keep primary as the green and secondary as the deep blue there. But really, I mean, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of other colors on here. Is this blue the same one? 082 F42? Is that what I just did? Yeah, cool, okay. So yeah, I mean, really we only have these primary 2 global colors. Obviously we could use some other like shades and contrasts and stuff, like maybe for these like borders. Oh, interesting. All that is the deep blue, but more opaque, 34% opacity to make it look like it's kind of gray. That will do. Okay, so I am just going to go ahead and delete those. For our primary navigation, our navigation text, I think we'll just probably set to black for now. Might end up changing that later. For our hover and our active, we'll do our green. Ooh, that doesn't quite stand out exactly how I would want it to. And that's indistinguishable in the hover space. Maybe I need another variant of that green. There's a tool, I don't know what you all use for like close color. I don't even know what you would call this. Close color assessments. I've used this for years and years and years just because I know that it works, but I'm able to like get a few different variations of the color lighters and darkers automatically, which is what I want. So if I want a lighter version of it, I'll try this. So this would be primary 2. And then I'll rearrange this. Oh, that doesn't even look that much different now that I see it side by side. I'll go ahead and add this other one too. That's not going to show up against a white background very well, so maybe I need to go one step darker. This is going to be something I have to fix, these color names, because it goes primary 1, 2, 3, and it's like, should be the other way around. But on the hover, I think I'm just going to have to do like a line or something because these colors don't quite have the right level of contrast. I actually want to go check that real quick because I definitely think that this passed. WCAG color contrast checker. Foreground is white and background is that. Yeah, see, okay, so it does. Well, I guess for normal text AAA, it doesn't. And I did that wrong. I actually meant foreground and background. Is it going to be the same result? Okay, yeah, it is the same result either way. So WCAG AAA doesn't pass, but everything else does. So that seems somewhat acceptable. How many of you are going for AAA instead of just AA? I'm curious because I know that there's in Kyle's survey there was a lot of people who said that they're trying for best practices. It can be tough sometimes when you're really trying to fit somebody's brand guidelines and also incorporate accessibility. In this case, I really just grabbed their logo and took a deeper shade of the green so that it feels consistent and cohesive, but then that way I have, some, some, attempt at accessibility. Best, trying my best. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, not AAA. AAA seems pretty difficult. I think there's some people who are even accessibility advocates that's like, yeah, AAA is not really worth going for. AA is the way to go. But I mean, 5.29 to 1 is pretty good, so I am happy with that. We'll go ahead and rock this. So yeah, what I'm going to do here is for the navigation hover, I'll just add like a little, line transition that kind of appears underneath, little border bottom. Easy peasy. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of here now that we have that set. And I don't have WP code box on this site. So let's go WP code box. I think this version is going to be pretty out of date. It's okay though, because it will be functional. All right, new snippet. I always do that. I'm already on the little new snippet screens and I click it anyway. Style sheet. CSS. External file. Save. Auto reload changes. Save again. Turn it on. And let's take a look here. Let's go ahead and close out of this stuff. And what I want to do first of all is let's make this a little bit whiter so we can see the changes a bit better. For our primary menu, one of these has a flex on it. Here we go. Align items. We just want to go start. Right? Where's the, oh no, okay. Margin left auto. That's what we want. So we're just going to take that selector here, pop that in. Margin left, we'll just go 0 for now, not O, we want 0. And then what I was hoping was with this menu toggle, that's not what I want. Margin left of 0, and then flex grow of 1 lets it take up the rest of the space, which is what I want. And then this one, what I was hoping to do is just push it to the end. But actually, I think margin left 0 is not what we want. We're going to end up wanting to go margin 0 auto. Seems like it's mad about that. Oh no, I need to do that down here. So that's going to go like that. I do this on the UL, so margin 0 auto. I guess I could just go back to the customizer. Layout, primary navigation. Isn't there a center option? Classic? Nope. It's not going to be before or after. Navigation after centered. No. All right, so scrap that. We'll leave this one alone. I just clearly don't have the right selector here. Maybe it's you didn't wear pants, forgotten in a hurry to go live. Oh, yeah. As always, I'm just centering the navigation here. It might be because there's other elements in this way, because this isn't taking up the space. Yeah, gosh, I'm so sorry about clearing my throat constantly. There we go. Okay, it just needed a flex grow on the primary menu because otherwise the space wasn't being taken up. I'm going to mute my mic real quick so I can... I'm back. There we go. Okay, so all I needed to do was add a flex grow on the primary menu. So we're getting there. And then flex grow 1, there we go. And then let me refresh this because there was a margin auto that I set on. Primary menu. Did that not apply? My dot primary menu should have, oh, it's an ID, not a class, that's why. Okay, so that's good. And my margin left, flex grow 1 needs to be on there as well. Sometimes I feel like the WP code box isn't actually doing what I want it to do when the auto reload is in place. Okay, so then should I be able to go margin 0 auto? No, what did I do it on? I forgot. Oh, I think I did it on the UL. Didn't I? Margin 0 auto. There we go. All right, I need to save this because this way I can do this again really easily in the future. So main menu 1. ID main menu 1. Margin 0 auto. See, that CSS actually isn't hard at all. It just took me a little bit to find the right selectors. So all I wanted to do was just simply center the menu left and right. And for whatever reason, that control doesn't exist easily in GeneratePress. Diego says, I heard you talk about WordCamp Europe before. Will you be there this year? I won't be there this year, but it was fantastic last year. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely going to WordCamp US this year. I was already in Europe this year, so it's not easy for me to get back there because my airport here locally is pretty small, and the next major airport's like a 5-hour car ride because, of course, America's useless and doesn't have any good public transit. So I unfortunately can't get to a good international airport easily. So as a consequence, it's very expensive, especially to get to Greece. I don't know why, but from here, you can get to the other major cities, Munich, London, Paris, all those places fairly affordably. I mean, it's still not cheap, but for some reason, then Athens, you just add like $500 extra on top of it, where it seems like you could probably fly into Paris or, Frankfurt or something like that, and then catch a cheap flight and save hundreds of dollars even still. So I don't know, probably paying for the convenience factor of it. But long story short, WordCamp Europe was really great. I think it's the biggest one typically in the world. I think WordCamp Europe is I think capacity last year was like 4,000 people, and they ended up having like 3,300 or 3,700 or something like that. So that was really great. That was something that I thought was a great contributing factor to why I enjoyed it so much. Was the quantity of people there was so great. Got to meet tons of people, and there being more people just brought other more interesting vendors and giveaways and activities and all kinds of stuff. There was things going on around the city too, which was really cool. So I thought that was great. And so, yeah, I'm going to WordCamp US this year, like I said, and I think that one's capacity is like 2,000. So it still will be fairly sizable. And that one's a long way, but it's within driving distance at least of me. So that's good. A little bit easier to get there. I'm excited though, because I think a lot of the people here in the US that I know are going to end up going to that. And it's a lot easier to get there for anybody in the US than it would be to get to Europe. So that'll be cool. Good question. So the next thing I wanted to do is, I don't know if this is going to work. I might need to add, I don't think this is set as a flex property, so this probably isn't going to work anyway. But I wanted to know if I could just, on this LI, if I could just go margin left auto and push it all the way out. So I can, if I take this flex grow off, it's not going to work. Maybe what I'll do is just keep the navigation centered, because this is the kind of thing, I've said this before on many, many streams, especially build streams, where it's like the difference between, oh, where did it go? Good Lord. The difference between this and this, being side by side, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to notice. It's going to work exactly the same way. So there's just no point in spending the time. I mean, if you want the challenge, if you're like an attention to detail nut, that's awesome. More power to you. But for me, I'm not going to spend the time to do that, because it's really not going to make any difference. So the other thing is, remember, if you remember earlier, if I could speak, the last nav item, I added a class called navcta. So .navcta, and we will need to style this because I don't yet have a class I can steal. So it'll be pretty easy. Let's take a look at our paddings and stuff. Something I'm trying to be much more intentional about is paddings in a like an 8-point grid. So meaning everything, just being so much more consistent. I'm really trying to be more intentional about that. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to have top and bottom of maybe like 0.5 rim, and left and right of maybe something like 2. And then our font weight here is 700. Background color is our secondary 1. And then border radius of something like, 40, 25, something like that. Background color, var secondary 1. And then padding 0.5 rim and 2 rim. We'll try that. Then our color will be white. Font weight of 700. And then border radius. Well, let's start with 25 pixels, because that's typically pretty good. And let's see how this works. We're definitely going to need to add some other... Ooh. My color didn't... Oh, it's because it's on the A. Okay, no problem. .nav CTA A color white. I wonder why my padding looks so whacked out there. Oh, I guess it's probably adding additional padding from the other styling from GeneratePress. Hello? .nav CTA A. Guess that specificity is not high enough because it's coming from somewhere else. Let's just go with main menu 1. I'm going to slap that in front of it. That should work. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Diego says, I have a different question. Do you prefer Figma from the browser over the standalone application? And if so, why? Because it's just easier. I don't need another desktop application, honestly. So the web browser works fine. I don't use it frequently enough that it doesn't make a whole lot of difference for me. So that's all. Yes, Diviatus, you're right. It definitely does. You can see it right here. Padding left and right of 20 and line height of 60. So I guess what I need to do is, what would be the best way to go about changing this? I'm thinking like a not class, because it's compounding. Probably just make this selector more specific, I would say. Where was that coming from? I just saw it. Yeah, I mean, main menu 1. Is that padding coming up from higher though? Oh, the padding was on the A, that's why. Okay, so we could just simply do this. And then A, last of type should work, I believe. And then padding would be just unset. Right? Oh shit, no. I always forget this one. Yeah, I had it right. I'm doubting myself. Because it's on the A. Why didn't that work? Last child, maybe? Takes it away from all of them. Oh, I guess that's not going to work. Li is going to be last child. Li last child A. Closer. Okay. Oh, nope, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, so that works because now we still have the padding that we wanted over there, but it seems like this padding is a little bit wacky here. Okay, so I think we're good. We just got to work with this a little bit. So for whatever reason, maybe we just need to modify this a little bit. And then probably just increase this a bit. Make it look just a little bit more cohesive. So 2 maybe, and then that's going to need to be like 1.125. Oh, 1125. That's funny. That's not actually what I meant. Yeah, this worked. This A's padding is overwritten. All good to go there. Just playing with this now to kind of look at what the actual values need to be to make it look not terrible. I wonder, just for the sake of testing, I wonder if I went margin left of like 1 rem or 2 rem, if it would buy me some extra space here. And then I could turn back on the border radius. It's still just too much on the top. Maybe just to see. That's better. There's additional padding on the top. Do these have a height to them? Oh, line height of 60. That's probably what it is. Yeah, okay. So then I just need to go line height. Line height, you had 10 pixels top, bottom, and 40 left and right? I don't think that was me. Could be wrong. I don't think so. I'm just going to change this to line height of 1 for now. There we go. Okay, that's much more like what I want. Now, actually, I think the A should get this. Oh, in the design. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yes, so I was doing, just kind of equating that to an 8-point grid, which is what I was saying earlier. So just kind of rounding up the values a little bit. So if it was 10, 0.5 rem is 8. It's close enough. And then left and right values. See, obviously they do have a bit more space there. But that line height is probably more than 1. It's probably 1.5, which would help. Not quite 1.5, but maybe 1.2. Yeah, so that definitely helps a good bit. Now, I'm sitting here thinking that I should probably change the padding away from the LI and instead put it on the A link so that the button is actually clickable. So then it would be like that. Still gonna have all the colors, right? Oh, I didn't take that away from here. So we'll just remove this line. So there we go. So now the whole A link actually fills in the color and the spacing there. Let's go ahead and add in a little bit more margin on the left here to push this away. Oh, I didn't actually apply that. That's why. I think I did margin left like 1 rem roughly. Because those are all just basically next to each other with the padding. I just wanted to space that out a little bit because obviously it doesn't look quite right. Okay, that'll be fine. I think I'm just gonna rock this for now. That will be good. That's really all I wanted. And then with our hover effect, I talked about adding a line underneath it. So we should have our selector here. Border bottom. Let's see, solid 1 pixel primary. Let's try that. This isn't going to look super good because we need a transition effect. Oh, and we need a border on the underside. So let's do a little bit more here. Li will be border bottom solid 1 pixel white for now. And then let's add a transition of 0.2 seconds, ease in, out, all. Oh, my transition not correct? Oh, there's a random 3 there. I wonder if that's the problem. There we go. It's a little bit slow. I don't like how slow that is. 0.1. I want the border on the bottom to be a little bit bigger. And then the color should probably change. It's a little bit crammed too. I think this probably just needs to be spaced out. I think I'll just use a gap, which would then help me with this spacing too. Because this feels a little bit clunky. And also I need to make it so that border doesn't apply to the last one. Let's see, you could go not last child, right? Here on this selector. Will this work? No, I'm not super familiar with this. I think the thing that I learned actually from Kevin Geary was I believe these are supposed to be in the navigation for accessibility purposes. Because if it's a button outside of it, I guess you could do a conventional button and then you could just use a generate press hook and that would be so much easier. But I was just thinking to keep it really consistent. And well, actually, yeah, Josh, that's another good point. It messes up mobile to mobile menu as well. So this would actually be in the menu. In fact, I think if we go ahead and shrink this, you can still see it like that. Oh, and this is good that we checked here because we would need to adjust this a little bit. But here, at least, the CTA button is still really present in the mobile nav. You know, and you have to do no extra effort for that, which is good. So it's kind of a twofold effect. And really, this is one of those things that if you're going to do this a lot, you pretty much need this CSS one time, and then you would be set after that. Isn't it? Or do I need this in it as well? Let's see here. Yeah, perfect. Cool. So I haven't used the not a whole lot, but this selector is starting to get pretty crazy. So I said not last child so that the border effect doesn't apply to our nav CTA button. Oops, that's what I meant to do. Highlight that nav CTA button. Cool. So like I said, this is probably a little bit more crammed than it should be. I think this should just breathe a little bit more. So if we were going to do that, it's already set. The UL is already set as flex. So could you just go like 1 rem maybe? That seems pretty solid. We might end up changing this later. Let's go ahead and pop this in, and then it was just a gap of 1 rem. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna call that navigation done-ish. Probably want to come back to that later. The other thing is on the nav CTA, I want to add a hover box shadow. 0, I don't know, 4, 12, 0, 0.25 maybe. And then we need a transition of 0. I could just copy this. I'm going to end up doing the same thing. Okay. So now, oh, there's a bug on my light. That's weird. 0.1 might not be fast enough. Or I mean, might be too fast. There we go. Okay, I'm sure I'm going to change some of this stuff later, like padding and spacing, and then also this box shadow. I don't think we have a box shadow defined for this yet, which we definitely should. Style like guides and that sort of thing are you know, high priority for me to really emphasize a lot moving forward. Okay, let's go ahead and get this hero section rolling. Anybody else, if you're joining, don't forget you can ask questions about anything related to what we're working on, or if you have questions about WordPress or plugins or whatever, let me know. Okay, so now we're on the home page. So let's just go ahead and edit this. I'm going to go with a container and add our inner container. Then so I tried that earlier, Josh, and it wouldn't work because the way that I set up the flex grow to end up taking up this space. I forget. Let me look here again. Yeah, it was like if I did margin left auto, something like the display, I forget. Let me make this a little bit wider so we can see it. I think the way that I centered this, I'm sure there's a way to do it. It's just one of those things. Yeah, I did that on the margin left, like element itself. I mean, on the LI itself. So it should have worked. Yeah. It's actually been really good for me to be working on the CSS course though, because it's really like the fine grain, you know, the super nuanced detail of that, of writing the scripts and practicing the content is like extremely helpful to convey it in a way that makes sense and challenge myself to like make sure I can convey it clearly, understand and share with people that are watching. So it's like, it's a good challenge. Yeah, I wonder. I don't think you would want to. Well, actually, since it's the LI, could you go? Oh, no, that's not going to work. Display flex grow 1. No, okay. I was just sitting here brainstorming, trying to think. But again, not that big of a deal. So our background, we're going to use, we're just going to go ahead and do advanced because we're probably going to need an overlay. So an image, which I have uploaded, which is these dogs on the beach. And then I don't think the positioning was perfectly centered. I think it was like left center. And then was it contain? Contain. No, definitely not. We'll just do cover for now. And then maybe a minimum height of, let's see, 700 pixels on a 1080 would be roughly like 70 VH. So we'll go with a size here of 70 VH. Looks all right. And then what we're going to do in this point is set this to flex, and we're going to align center. Then this container, we have a headline. Oh, actually, I'm going to pop in. Oh, this is a perfect case for wrapping with the container. So we'll pop in this headline, and this needs to be an H1. And then I'm like, oops, I wanted a container here. So you can go add to container. That's super awesome, really handy and very welcome. Second headline, so that one would be H2 more than likely, or possibly even just a paragraph. Probably just a paragraph. And then we're going to have some buttons, which we haven't created the global styles for yet, but that's okay. Forget what the first button was. One of them was refill request, I think. Or request refill. Contact us and request refill. Contact us and request refill. Okay, easy. And this isn't going to work because it's set to inline flex, so I don't really want to use margin there. So yet another case where add to container is going to be super handy, because then I can just, on this container, keep my flex, keep my row direction. My column gap will be 1 rem. Let's see. Is that what I want? Yeah, that'll be fine. And then for my container, I can go with a display of flex, justify content to the left. Looks like we need to do a width of 100%. And this one should be set to max width, which means it also should have margin left and right auto, which it does, perfect. And then with this, we're just going to go to our colors. Text is going to be white. Easy. And then there is a larger font size on this one. So it's 600 font weight and a size of 24. So I think I would do that with a GenerateBlocks global style. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. And then we didn't actually configure our heading sizes in GeneratePress, like our H1s, in terms of what their defaults are, setting them to rem and that kind of thing. So that is another thing we don't want to manipulate directly. However, we should be able to see this now functioning. Where's my content? What? Sudo. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it was because my background image was set to sudo and not self. That's a little tricky one. What is my actual container width here? So this whole thing is 1280. So it's 1200 pixels. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly it. I was just looking at the slight misalignment of this and the heading, but that's because by default, the heading container has some padding. So let's go drop that out real quick. Header left and right, there's 40. So yeah, so that'll do the trick. And then on mobile, we'll drop that to like 24. Ooh, yucky, our heading, or our image has a background. Ew. Okay. The other thing we need to do is create a global container in GenerateBlocks to add some padding on mobile devices, as you can see. We'll get to that in just a little bit. The other thing is adjusting our background position as the screen size shrinks. So on our tab size. Oh, do I have to do that with a... Yeah, I guess I got to do it this way. It's kind of annoying. So on desktop, it'll be like that. Then image, tablet. Depends on if you want to do this 3 times. This will be left center. And then if it's left center though, maybe I'm going to change this to center and then leave it and check it on mobile. Because it should be fine. Now our heading is pushed out where we want, which is perfect. And then as we shrink, oh, it's because I forgot to change this back to all. Okay. See, these are all the little nuances of why I like to do this before I make content, because then you can see the stuff and things. Sometimes the mistakes are good, but not always. I think when there's many mistakes and I'm constantly flipping between screens, then it's just not a very cohesive way to pick up the content. So then the other thing is, I think there's an overlay here just ever so slightly. Is there? It certainly looks like there is, because that side of the image is darker. I think it deserves one. Probably so. Or the font needs to be bolder with a little bit of a text shadow. That's probably the way to go. Okay, well, we're already in the customizer. Let me refresh this because we've made some changes since then. It's weird that the back end shows our heading as our header as white and the front end doesn't. I don't know why GeneratePress does that. It's weird. Typography, let's go with add, and we're going to go H1. So that font family is going to be Montserrat, font weight of 700. Yeah, see, that's already looking better, even though it's right over the dog's eyes, which I don't really like based on my screen size here. And then I don't know what our font size is roughly going to be, because right here it's 57. So we need to just round that. 16, so 3.5. I think I'm going to try 4 rem first. Where the hell did my customizer? There it is. Let's try 4 rem. That's pretty huge. But I mean, it is the H1, and maybe we would just position this down from the top a bit rather than like right in the dead center. So the heading is up more in the sky, and then the dogs fill in the next part. But also it's going to depend on your screen size too. We'll leave that alone for now. I think 4 rem on desktop is fine. Bottom margin, I want, let's see, what do I want as my spacing beneath that? 12 pixels? Is that really what I want? 20, I think I want more like 24. Yeah, so like 1.5. 1.5 rem. Yeah, that should be good. And then as we shrink on tablet, we're going to drop that to 3. And then mobile will be 2.5. Cool. So there's our H1 situated. And then really I would just repeat the same thing all the way down for the other fonts as well. I wish there was a duplicate button. That would be nice. Because essentially I'm just going to have to do the same thing. But in my starter site, I have, this kind of taken care of already most of the time. So we're just going to go back to desktop real quick, change this to 3. And then I think 3 for tablet and 2.5 for mobile. We'll tweak these if needed. And then again, 1.5. Actually, it's going to be less than that. If it's 20, that's more like 1.25. 1.25, 1, yeah, like that. And then I want to go fix that on this as well. It's more like 1.25. Okay, so now, because we set that globally, it already looks better. I still do think that this positioning needs some work. Let's refresh so we can see the latest change. We can easily add a text shadow with a single click right here in GenerateBlocks, which is great in the effects panel. However, I think that is a little bit too intense. Maybe like halve that, 25%. And then because of the way that we positioned this container here, we did it in the center. If we pop this up there, and then we take this container and maybe we add some margin to the top of, let's say, like, I don't know, 4 rem. You can try that. I think we're just going to have to play with this a little bit. 8 rem. I'm not sure if it's going to look better up there. We probably just need to zoom in the photo a bit so that way it kind of pulls the image over more like it is here. Oh, actually, it's even just lower. The image is just lower, so it's like bottom centered. Let's go try that real quick. Position, bottom center, bottom left. Can you set it to like 125%? Does that work? I think that's more like the image is anyway. And then instead of this approach with the margin, we would just go back to what we did before, which was align item center. Oh, well, it doesn't quite fit. That's what we want, but it needs to be full width. I don't really like that it covers the dog's eyes. That feels a little bit weird. I guess I could just pull the container over a little bit. I want to make this fit nicely. If we just set this to a max width of 50%, oh, it's because it has margin auto. That seems better to me. Wait, why didn't that save? Okay, something's wrong. Let me go back to this and, oh, well, there's no size. Okay, so cover. All right, and, oh, I guess my max width changed there is not the proper place to do it. That's why. So max width needs to be our global on that container, and then this one needs to be a max width of, what did I do? Can't remember if it was 500 pixels or, let's say width 100%, and then our max width will be 768 pixels. Let's try that for now. Oh, and then got to add back in the margin left and right auto. Whoa, I don't like that. If I go from left and tab, then it goes down to the borders option. I'm sure they're going to fix that. Yeah, it skips. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't. It's going in the correct tab order of the CSS box model. So left, bottom, right, top. Okay, I was just misunderstanding. I was expecting it to jump top, left, right, bottom, just based in the sequence of like visual hierarchy. But I guess with CSS, it, you know, it's going consistently with the CSS layers. So good to know. Easy fix. So this should probably be a little bit more condensed. I did 768 just because I wanted to play with that a little bit. So we'll go back to what I think I did was like 500. Sandro's suggestion was to reduce the line height. I'll be glad to try that real quick. So it's at 1.2, so I don't know. Dog photo is stretched. Let's see, I did cover. It shouldn't be. I think this photo just might be a little bit weird. Because if we go look at the actual photo itself, yeah, I think it's fine. It does look a little wonky for sure, but I think this is good. So now, one question I have for all of you in terms of design opinion is this. I'm curious about this. So sometimes I resort to adding like a white box around all of this stuff. If there's a photo like this where it's a little bit tough to stand up the elements on it. So one example of that is like this down here, where like you have these contrasting layers behind, and then I added this like white box that has a 95% opacity. So it's mostly white, but you know, you can still see a little bit of the color definition behind it. So I'm curious what you guys prefer and what you tend to do in your designs. If it's something like this white box approach to make sure that everything's legible and readable, or do you just kind of fiddle with it, maybe add a little overlay to get the effect that you're after? Because in this case, part of me is like, maybe a box wouldn't be so bad here. Especially because actually, how is this going to work on mobile? Find the right image. Yeah, I think that's the approach for sure. That's a tough one. Well, another thing that we could do in the meantime is get our global style set up for GenerateBlocks. So let's go ahead and do that while we ponder that. So this one is going to be buttons. So button. This will be primary. This is the name we're going to give to our button. So our spacing on the top was like 0.5 rem. And then the right was 2 rem, 0.5 rem, and 2 rem. Then we had a border radius of roughly 25 pixels. Our typography, font weight of 700, I believe? Or was it medium? I can't remember what our buttons are. Yeah, okay, it's 700. 700 there. Then our colors for our background is our primary. And do we have a hover? Yeah, that'll be fine. We'll just do that. Lighter on the hover. And then for our borders, do I have to set the border first for the color to appear? Why don't I have border color? Oh, it's right there. It moved. Okay. Since there's a separate option for the borders now. So our standard color is going to be this green. And then when you hover it, it will become white. Which actually is not going to work on every background. I just realized, because this right here, it works because we're over top of this image. But if, you know, somewhere else, like down here, that's not going to work. What is it? How does it do if it's white? I guess you can't. I guess you can't set it to change based on hover. I guess then it's kind of pointless to have a border, because if it's white, you're not going to be able to see it anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. So let's scrap that. Not interested. Then what I can do is in my effects, we're going to add a transition, turn that down to like 0.2, and a box shadow, and we'll turn that down. Oh, it's already up 10%, so that's perfect. Oh, and the box shadow needs to be state of hover. So then we're going to have that little background color change effect and a little box shadow, which is perfect. So then I simply want to duplicate this. I'm going to give this one a name of secondary. And we're simply going to just change the colors here. And I don't have another global color, which is a mistake. So we are just simply going to publish this for now, and we'll come back to that. And then all I need to do in this case is use global style for my button, primary, and secondary. So that's good. Padding needs to be a little bit more on the left and right. And then I do think that these need a border, but thankfully we can go ahead and apply these. And it's not going to affect it. That's weird that the border radius reset. That seems like a little bit of an oversight. Yeah, there's some weirdness with the borders. But again, I'm using 1.8 alpha that's not even technically released as an alpha yet, so that's okay. Those don't look very good as 1. Or I mean 2, so I'm going to swap them down to 1. And then I want them to have a bit more padding, to be honest. That's weird. Because I guess the text is a lot shorter here. Maybe we'll go with the min width. Where's my spacing? I always get myself so mixed up in this. Maybe a min width of like... Oh, well, no, that's not going to work unless it allows me to center this way. Okay, that'll work. So let's go with like a 150. Min width 150. And then we want our justify content to be center. So update. Then what we should see is it tweaked over here. That's okay. Still doesn't seem like the padding is quite right. Oh yeah, it's not. It overrides with a local, like an ID style. Because if I uncheck that, then does this one come back? Yeah, the border does look really weird. I think maybe I would rely more on like a box shadow in that case. It's weird. There's some wonky stuff going on. Seems like when I made your paste bin comment was removed, I didn't even see it. It didn't come through as like a filtered comment or anything. Feel free to drop it back in. I'll keep an eye out for it this time. It might just be getting clipped by YouTube before it even makes it through. Yeah, there's some wonkiness going on here. I think because there's these competing styles, and the thing is, I am using a currently released version of GenerateBlocks Pro with this random alpha release of 1.8. So I think there's some conflict here. So honestly, I'm not going to really worry about it. I'm just going to move on and we'll keep cruising. So that's fine for now. Not the biggest fan of this exact approach right here, but it does the trick for now, I think. Maybe, I mean, like I said earlier, there's always the possibility of just adding a little pseudo overlay. and putting the, I mean, that already looks better, to be honest. Maybe it doesn't need to be so dark, like 10%. Direction of 90, I think, is better. Okay, so there's that. And then we just simply need to take our Z index and bump that up. This might be too dark. It's definitely better. I mean, it de-emphasizes the photo a bit to bring the text out more, which I'm not super, I don't feel one way or the other about it, to be honest. Seems like it's reasonably good. Makes it definitely more legible. Gets you to the point here more quickly, I think, of choosing your button and moving on. So that works. Yeah, so next up is the services section. So these are some cards with some negative margin. Do the fade. Make the fade like more clean. Is that what you mean? Actually, I guess you're right. I could just change it to like that. So that one is actually just like a quicker effect. So it's not the whole image. If I do it like that, maybe over 50%? What about something like that? More subtle, makes the left half of the image look darker and the right half is still nice and bright. I probably would want to pull that over just a little bit more so the, well, maybe not. I mean, that seems okay. I hope that's what you meant, Deviatus. Do that fade. The gradient fade. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I agree. I think that's good. We need this shape transition. I never use these things, to be honest. Is it really as simple as that? That's hilarious. So I guess I need this to be taller now. Min height of like 80. Or no. I guess maybe some padding inside of this. Let's go like 4 rem. No. Like I said, I never use these shape effects. Maybe let's make it smaller. Z index of -1? No, that doesn't work. How do I make it transparent? Oh, I guess I would do it on the second section here and make it white so it overlays over the top of the photo? Okay, let me try that. So I am going to abandon ship on this one. Or am I just getting it wrong? Rethinking this. If it's white and it's only 100 pixels, why is it not fully white? Or is it, and I just can't tell? Oh, because there's the gradient. That's why it looks weird. It's always something. I just want to look at this on the front end and see. So that works, but yeah, our gradient effect from the image is having an effect. So like I said, I am now going to abandon ship on that. And then let's insert, oh, I forgot to create a container global style. That's okay. That's easy to add later. So with this container, I would add an inner. Then if I go at it with the second container, so our shape is going to be at the top. And then I assume what I need to, let's go ahead and make this white. I assume what I need to do is just use a little bit of negative margin. And then do we need to bump our z-index of the shape itself, maybe? Seems like it's kind of working. Almost. Wonder what it looks like on the front end. Oh, maybe because there's no content in this. Let me set some height here. Min height, we're just gonna go 100 VH for now. Give us some space to work with, and then we'll put some content in here. Except I can't see it. Padding of 8 rem, just so we can see it. Okay. Now at least it's visible. And clearly this needs to, nope, not iPhone. GB shape. GB shape 1. Okay, so this needs to flip. This will work, but it needs to flip. So I think I set that to flip here. Let me go back. Flip horizontally is not going to work. I needed to flip vertically. Can I do that? Oh my gosh, I keep clicking the triangles. I want to click curves. Yeah, the shape is definitely upside down. You're right. So then margin on this container. Oh yeah, it's still upside down. What the hell? Can I do a transform on inner container background image custom selector dot GB shape, rotate 360? Is that going to work? Okay, this seems like I'm missing something. I feel like you should be able to do this easier. And then I added 8 rem of padding. I think I actually want to add like 8 rem of margin to push that. No. Why is it adding the shape to the inner container? That's weird. I'm going to change the color temporarily so I can see this a bit better. Why would my padding here have any effect on that? Seems like what I would be better off doing is just getting it roughly where I want and then just flipping it with CSS. And then why didn't this apply? Transform, rotate 360. And then a top of -100 because the height of the shape is 100. So then our color would be white like that, right? Yeah, okay, there we go. So that seems a little weird. I think I'm missing something because that seems like it should be doable when you want an image to overlay like that. However, it is possible. So let me think about what I just did. So the height of this shape is 100 pixels. I flipped it with the transform effect. But for some reason, it doesn't like that on the front end. Okay, well, I'll just steal the where is it? The CSS that I just did. GB shape. We'll just go pop this into WP code box real quick. Because there's a gradient, Josh, on the top one that makes it so that the overlay, sorry, life makes you leave, I understand, no worries. There's a gradient on the top one, so if you put the shape on the top here, then it gets the gradient, and so it makes the shape have the same gradient when I want it to just be white. So I just did a transform, I set it to white, and then a top of -100. And then here, I can just go back to the shape, and I'm gonna set the white in the actual controls. Yeah, I kind of thought so too. I guess maybe if I had set the Z index higher, possibly, that could work. I didn't try that, but now I'm way beyond that. .gb shape, so I need some other selector here that's going to give me more. Hello, Taylor, finally. Just as I'm about to tell everybody I'm wrapping up, dude. Boo! Yeah, Dividus, we were thinking the same thing at the same time. Oh, you were driving, I see. I'll excuse it. So sorry. I see you. Somebody responded to me on Discord. Where are you driving to, dude? Let's see. Let's see. Is it GB shape and .gb shape 1? Is that the two classes I have? Oh, where'd it go? Going up to Birmingham. Oh, cool. It's still being overridden, so let me find another selector here that's going to be better. E EE0. I'm going to go up one more. I'm going to cheat and go .post13. There we go. That's super cheating, but that works. Okay, well, I definitely need to spend more time with shapes in GenerateBlocks because that's a little bit trickier than I would have expected, but it works. So that's perfect. Definitely making some progress. I wish this was multiple lines, but obviously, as we saw earlier, it's not quite going to work. I think I agree that maybe there's a better photo to be had here. I'll do some digging and look on that. But see, this is exactly why I wanted to kind of walk through this a little bit is now I have an idea of some of the hangups that I'm going to run into. The other things on this page, this section, the services card is going to be really easy. Probably makes sense to do that as a CPT. I don't know. We'll see. This one's going to be easy. Just a little circle image with a border. Some padding that's transparent. This one will be fine. Another shape. Uh-oh. Another shape. Oh. That one. This one should be pretty easy right here because that's just going to be the plugin that probably has to, that needs some styling. And then there's a footer here. So yeah, I mean, that's about all I'm going to do for now. Be able to show a little bit of progress and killing 3 birds with one stone here, doing client work, preparing for content for the future, and Oh, and streaming. Yeah, all at the same time. It's pretty killer. We're coming up on 2 hours here. What are we at now? An hour and 50 minutes. I think I'm going to pretty much wrap it up here. I have some other stuff to take care of offline today. So I'm going to go ahead and close it down. But as always, all of you that hang out all stream long, I really appreciate it. Hopefully you picked up something valuable along the way. If not, sorry, maybe next time. As always, I'm going to be back next Friday with another stream. Hopefully I'll have a guest at some point soon. I want to do another kind of interview type guest stream. So that's coming up at some point here in the near future. So I'm going to sign off for now. Thank all of you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Really appreciate you all. And until next time, sayonara. Bye-bye.